Plaintiff Tara Shirley says after her son and the defendant's son had an argument, the defendant came to Tara's home to confront her. Tara claims the defendant cursed at Tara, called her son a name, and then assaulted her. Tara claims the defendant pled guilty to the assault, and she's suing her today for medical bills and emotional distress. Defendant Brittany Matchiner says when she went to confront Tara about Tara's son hitting her child, Tara knocked her down by pushing her with the screen door. At that point, Brittany admits that she lost her cool and punched Tara, but she doesn't feel responsible for her medical bills since Tara initiated the altercation.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Tell me what happened.
On April 1st of this year, around 4:30 p.m., my husband and my son and I had just arrived home. There were several neighborhood children playing outside as normal. My son, 5 years old, stayed outside to play. That's his whole world to play. About 10 minutes later, he came to our screen door, our screen window, and pressed his face up there, and he said that the defendant's son, Brody, had just called him a bad name. There were several children hanging around the window. We could see Brody kind of leaning up against the wall, probably waiting to see what was going to be said. We said for the kids to play nice and get along, and they ran off. Then about 15 or so minutes after that, the defendant came to our screen door, and she was peering in. I was standing in the kitchen. My husband was standing like in the front, or sitting in the front room area. She peered in and said, "Your kid just hit my kid twice." I seen Brody standing beside her. And I replied that our boys were having problems getting along, and I was going to try to approach that civilly, and that was not what she said.
Okay, I'll let you speak in a minute.
And try to handle that civilly and solve the problem. Her response was to curse at me and call my child a bully who was going around hitting all the kids. I stated that her child had a foul mouth. When I said that, she put her hand to her chest and said, "My kid doesn't cuss. I don't believe you." I replied that I had heard her child cuss on at least one occasion. When I said that, she grabbed our screen door handle and yanked it open without
absolutely not true.
Without pressing the release button. Mm-hmm. And it sounded like kind of like a bomb going off, but it dislodged the handle from the screen door frame.
And it sounded like a bomb.
Well, it was very loud. It was very loud because she didn't press.
It's time to go to her.
She didn't press the handle.
Go ahead, ma'am. You tell me what you want me to know.
Okay, I was over at a friend's house, like she said, all the kids were outside playing. My son came in, he was sobbing, he was just bawling and holding his throat. I asked him what happened. He said, "Shane hit me twice." So I got up, I was gonna go over and talk to them. I walked across the street, and at the time when I was walking across the street, 2 other children were coming in to the home where I was to tell their parents that their child had done the exact same thing to them. Mm-hmm. And the other 2 children actually had marks on their backs.
Okay.
I went across the street to their door. I came to approach the screen door and I said, Brody just came to me and he's saying that Shane is physically harming him and other children outside. And at that time, her husband told me that my son physically assaults her child every day, which is absolutely not true. My son is extremely mild-mannered and won't even defend himself in most cases. And then she told me that my son had a foul mouth and said horrible things to her child, which is not true as well. I know my child very well, obviously, and he doesn't speak like that. So
never.
Not that I am aware of. No, I mean, he's only 6.
He would do it in front of you?
In front of me, absolutely not. Absolutely not in front of me.
So you don't really know?
100%, I suppose not, no.
All right.
Okay. At that time, as I was telling them that I didn't believe what they were saying about my child, she approached the doorway and words were said between the 2 of us. I can't exactly, quote what was said word for word, but she called me a liar. I called her a liar, basically. At that time, she approached the door and began to come out the door at me. And I put my hands up to stop the screen from hitting me. And when I put my hands up to push the door back, she lunged out harder, knocked me in the face with the door. I fell to the ground. At that time is when my son took off running back across the street to get my mother because I had fallen to the ground. And I will admit, I completely lost my cool. It was totally not okay for me to do, but I felt threatened. And at that time, I got up and I hit her when I got up from the ground.
All right, but you say she was the aggressor by pushing the screen door onto you?
Yes.
All right, so
I felt threatened at that time.
All right, why didn't you just back up and walk away?
Well, I don't know. It all happened very quick. And at that time, I fell back.
She says that you tried to come at her by pushing the screen door, so she defended herself.
Okay. The truth of the matter is, as I said, she yanked open our screen door. I stepped into the doorway as I thought she was going to come in or something like that. When I did that, she kicked and pushed the screen door back shut so that it came up onto and over my foot. I have pictures.
It sounded like a bomb. Let's see your picture.
It injured my toe.
The point that it came up onto her foot is when I pushed it back at her.
Let's hear what ultimately happened.
When I pushed it off of my foot, I leaned out.
No, I've
and I was
heard
like,
your version of the fight. How did the fight end? And was there any action taken?
When I went out the screen door, she punched me in the left side of my face. My child was standing there. He began to shriek in terror. He was screaming very loud. I tried to catch her arms, but I wasn't as fast as she was. She punched me 2 more times in the right side of my face. I have pictures. I put her into like a headlock type hold to restrain her. She swung from below and punched me in the forehead. So I raised my head up higher out of her reach. She latched onto the back of my hair and yanked my hair back. At no time
I did not do that. There is no way those pictures are from that day.
At no time during the entire...
You jumped on her another day?
The cops from our city are in their home on numerous occasions from incidences with her and her husband.
Yes, they did. I have a police report. They noted the injuries from that day.
Not the black eye. I didn't even hit her that hard. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that occurred from that day.
Okay.
Those are probably pictures of an incident with her and her husband.
She also,
since the officers
Your
are there
Honor,
so frequently.
As the report sees it, she was charged with 3rd-degree assault,
which I did community service for, and the restitution has been paid.
And she pled.
You were found guilty?
Well, it's not a misdemeanor or anything like that. It's a city violation in my city court. Nothing ever goes on my record or anything. It was basically a violation of a city ordinance.
Because she had marks and she did not.
Yeah.
Ma'am,
were
you found guilty of anything related to this fight?
I pled guilty to it because I didn't have the money for a lawyer to fight it anyway. And I just wanted the situation to go away.
They give court-appointed lawyers in criminal cases.
It wasn't a criminal case.
To.
My city court doesn't give court-appointed attorneys if you're not facing jail time. Okay. And it was just a violation of a city ordinance.
So you pled guilty, you say, because you didn't have an attorney.
Yeah, to fight it.
They charged you with something, I'm sure, that was a crime initially, and you probably
it was a violation of a city ordinance.
Yes, what you pled guilty to, a lesser charge that amounted to a city violation. I know a little bit about how this goes.
Your Honor, I have her sheet where she pled guilty and right here.
Let me see what you have. You wanted me to also read.
I suffer, if I may speak.
Go ahead.
I had severe hematomas and contusions on my face. My medical bills state that I suffered from a concussion. I had headaches that were severe daily that lasted at least 3 weeks before they even eased up. And those marks on my face lasted even longer than that.
I need to say something.
There is no way that
this woman has been beat by her husband, and the police have been out there numerous times. There was no way that their fight had anything to do with her hematomas, whatever. Her husband has done a lot of the injuries to
you should have told her not to plead guilty. Judgment for the plaintiff. The defendant pled guilty to exactly what you're suing her for. $3,971. She pled guilty to a lesser charge, but that's how plea bargains go. Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff.